Hello and welcome to episode 330 of Geektown Radio. I am back this week with Matt. How are you doing?
I'm good, David. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, it's been a couple of weeks since you were on last. What have you been up to?
Been watching some pretty good stuff. I've enjoyed basically everything I've got written down here, which is always good. We want to enjoy the television that we watch. I think that's the idea. So, first thing I've been watching is Euphoria, and I wrote down Euphoria and Zendaya. Watched this week's, well, not the episode that came out today, but the previous episode. I think it's season 2, episode 5, I think. Really quite groundbreaking, incredible episode. And I think this show just continues to just get better and better. Obviously, it's a very, very hard-hitting show and all that kind of things. It's about, addiction and things like that. I already thought that Zendaya was a very good actress anyway, mainly from what she does in Euphoria. I don't feel like the MJ character always quite gives her, the time to shine.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, she's great in that role and everything. I just think that what Zendaya does for Jules? What she does for the character is just a lot more sort of expansive, I guess, because you've got some like deeper themes and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. In this 5th episode, she really just like raises her own sort of bar in that way in terms of her acting. And I know that usually with Emmy nominations, they pass forward certain episodes, I think, don't they? Yes. Like, this is a particular performance. I think that particular episode, so season 2, episode 5, should be like maybe submitted for an Emmy because she just really kind of went for it. And obviously when you've got a show like this that's really dealing with some heavy themes and things, not only do you need to kind of go for it anyway because you've got such heavy themes to deal with that you don't want to mess about with that. You want to just sort of go for it because you're doing such a hard-hitting sort of topic. Her acting in that episode and even like throughout the show before that has just been phenomenal. And I heard that she gets some sort, because I don't know if she's been nominated for something for this before. I'm not entirely sure, but she certainly deserves that. And the show itself has just been incredible. Just has really kind of knocked things out the park so far. It's gotten renewed, doesn't it, for another season, which isn't surprising. It's a big HBO show, so that's really good as well. Just been really, really quite incredible this season, and so many sort of just not shocking for the sake of it, obviously shocking because of what's happening to these characters and the situations that they're getting into, but so many sort of just shocking moments and kind of characters doing things that, well, they're not doing them out of character, obviously, because they're probably on some sort of drugs in different scenes, and that's affecting obviously what different characters are doing, not just Zendaya's character but other ones. And it's really just kind of gone for it this season. Not that it didn't last season, but it's just kind of upped itself this season, so it's been fantastic. Have you seen any of that?
I haven't, no. It's a show that I know everybody says is brilliant and I've just not got around to watching yet. I really should, because everybody tells me how great it is, and all the reviews are wonderful for it. It's sort of on my list of things that I need to go and watch, but it sort of passed me by when it first came out, and there's so much stuff around, I just haven't got around to catching up with it yet.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend it to those that obviously can watch it and that sort of thing, because it's not even just, hey, only adults should watch this. It's kind of, there's some stuff in here that isn't easy to watch. I mean, that's kind of the idea. It's not supposed to be a kind of casual comic book thing or something, like a Flash or something like that. It's obviously very hard hitting and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I've really kind of gone for it this season, and very, very effective storytelling and everything, which has been good. Watched all of Midnight Mass, which was a 7-episode. This is another one directed by Mike Flanagan. He previously did the Haunting of TV shows, which was Bly Manor and Hill House. In terms for me, I would say Haunting of Hill House, which was the first one of those, I would still say is the best. I think Bly Manor was still very good, but just didn't quite. It's that problem with sort of a director comes out with something and everyone's like, oh, this is incredible. They go to do the same thing again, and it obviously gets compared to the first thing, which sometimes is unfair, but sometimes also makes sense because, same genre, that type of thing. That one didn't quite knock it out of the park so much. That one, it was still very good. It just wasn't quite as good as the thing before it. which is sometimes a bit of a problem. But then he's done this show called Midnight Mass, which is a bit of a kind of different thing. Some similar cast members returning. I think his wife, is it? She has made appearances in all 3 shows. She sort of plays one of the main characters in this one as well. Raul Cooley as well, who's from iZombie, is in some of these shows as well.
Yeah.
So
Kate Siegel is the wife's name. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, she was in this as well. She played quite a big part and stuff. So that was good. I would say in terms of Midnight Mass, I think it's better than Blind Manor. I still don't think he's made something, unless he's made something before all this that I'm not aware of. But in terms of these 3 things, I think Midnight Mass is better than Blind Manor, but again, still doesn't quite reach those Hill House type of heights, I think.
Yeah, he has done a few other things. He did a few films called one called Absentio, different to the TV show. Okay. But he did that. In terms of TV, the haunting films, he's got a series coming up called The Midnight Club as well, which presumably is another horror, because that's, horror mystery thriller, it says that one is. He's Ouija, Origin of Evil, and so he's got a bunch of sort of... Oh, he did Dr. Sleep as well, the Stephen King follow-up to The Shining.
I never saw the sequel to that.
I didn't see that either, but so I mean, he's certainly, horror seems to be where he's at, pretty much.
Yeah, he's very, very good at doing certain things. Some other things he's not maybe quite as good at, but it's still enough really good stuff there that I would say all 3 of these are worth watching, basically. Mm-hmm. But so with this 3rd season, it sort of shifts gears a little bit in terms of plot. Basically, you have this priest. It's set around like the church and a midnight mass and that sort of thing. One of the priests mysteriously goes sort of missing. He very briefly but mysteriously explains it, or doesn't, depending on how you look at his first sort of speech. And things kind of kick on from, obviously we're going to spoilers, but I think weird stuff starts happening. These sort of like miracles start happening, and you start to find out why eventually. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't really say it's an issue with it, but the only thing with Midnight Mass is once you get to about episode 3-4, you start finding out a bit more about what this thing is that's happening, and then that's where it then clicks for me. I sort of watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, this is good, I'm going to keep watching this. And you clearly get the sense that something, well, obviously it's horror, something's always kind of wrong, but you get a sense that something's wrong. And I kind of thought, okay, I want to stick around to find out what that is and what's happened to this priest and all this other kind of stuff. And then once it sort of clicks and you find out what's happened, you're like, oh, okay, now the rest of the season kind of kicks on. It's only, like I said, 7 episodes. Some of the episodes are a little bit long, but it is another limited series, so it does wrap itself up quite well. The only other slight issue I had, and this might just be sort of my opinion kind of thing, I felt like some of the character deaths were slightly unnecessary. Like right. some of the ways that certain characters died, and then realizing how the series ended, it was sort of like you could have kept maybe that character alive because it didn't really change much. Mm-hmm. But then there's other ones that are like really vital sort of character deaths and that kind of thing. So overall, I really enjoyed the 3 of them, and with what's his name again?
Mike Flanagan. There we go. Sorry. When he comes out with his next, I guess maybe he'll do another horror Netflix thing. I'll check out what it is, because he's sort of earned my trust enough with that, I think. So it's been really good. Speaking of other horror stuff, continuing to watch Servant each week. I think the last time I came on, it was season 3, episode 1 that had just come out. We've now gotten up to episode, I think 4 roughly, for the 3rd season. Absolutely incredible show. There are so many things that this show does right, and when you put them all together, it just makes this really grand horror experience. Even from certain things, like not in terms of the visual quality, but certain camera shots, you can tell that M. Night wants you to look for certain things, or there's a way that the camera is placed, or the way that things are shot, where it's quite clear that you sort of like, okay, M. Night, why are you showing me this angle of this thing? And it's like he wants you to look for something, and there might not always be something there, but it's about the intrigue of how weird and creepy and wild this show is, because it really is all those 3 things put together. And I'm sort of like watching every shot very intensely of like, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to hide? And I really, really enjoy that aspect of it. I think particularly, I can't tell you why, but particularly the last 2 episodes have had like really creepy endings, where sort of like, spine tingling type of stuff of like, oh god, that's what you
like, you're trying to show me this thing, and like that's really creepy, but in a really, really good way. But no, they've really done an incredible job with this. I just think as the episodes have gone on, as the seasons have gone on, the show's just gotten better and better, I think. So I've really, really enjoyed that. And this next season is the last one, I think, season 4.
Yes.
So it's still got a bit of time to express itself and all that. And particularly just some events from this week's episode is just like, yeah, just really kind of out there. Not out there in the way of sort of jumping the shark or whatever. It's things that fit within the show. But yeah, it's also still amazes me because most of it takes place within the house. There's certain other angles and things that don't quite, like there's sort of the road in the street just outside the house. You'd scenes with Julian in his car when he's on his way to the house and stuff. And it's amazing how much mileage they've got out of scenes of that house, really, because most of it is like shot in the house and stuff. And there's certain theories as to, okay, why have we never seen these characters outside and all this kind of stuff. So really, really good. But yeah, I've enjoyed basically everything I've seen recently. How about yourself, David?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a sort of mixed bunch over the last sort of week or so. The Curse, which is the Channel 4 series. It's a kind of comedy drama, basically follows this group of fairly incompetent criminals, and they decide to rob this warehouse and just stumble across a bunch of gold that happens to be there, which is way more than they thought would actually be there. That's pretty much the setup for it, and it kind of follows what happens after that. It's 6 episodes, they're 30 minutes each, so it's fairly short. It's only like 3 hours to get through the whole lot. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was going to be more of a self-contained thing, and it definitely ends at a point where there could very easily be a second season. So I assume that there is a plan to, assuming the numbers are okay, to make another season of it because of how it ends. I mean,
like a cliffhanger?
Not so much a cliffhanger in that it does round off some bits of the story, but it leaves a lot of things dangling as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it ends on a cliffhanger, but it certainly things that they could continue to pull. You know, I was expecting it to be a kind of complete self-contained thing, and it isn't. I was expecting them to get to the end of it and it being, you know, this is what happened next, because it is sort of based on a true life story. It does have a title card that comes up at the beginning that says some of this may have happened rather than this is based on true events. So the characters are really fun. They are incredibly incompetent. It's a sort of wannabe gangster. There's 2 sort of more genuine gangsters in there who really are kind of using this group of feckless individuals. There's a sort of comedy gangster, a couple that run this cafe who get involved with it. There's the guy who is the security guard at the warehouse who lets them in the first place, who's another one of their mates. So it's really this sort of group of friends that suddenly have this idea of robbing this warehouse. It is fun. It's very funny. It's written by the people behind King Gary and Murdering Successful. So I suspect if you like those sort of shows, you're probably going to like this as well. It's got this sort of nice 80s vibe to it as well, which is fun. Overall, yeah, very solid, very funny series. I do hope they make more of it. I really, really enjoyed it and found it kind of interesting and different. And the fact that it's a half-hour comedy for this sort of show as well is not really what you would usually expect. I mean, technically comedy drama, but it is very much more comedy than drama. But it's got some wonderfully fun bits in it. There's people get killed off, but in very funny ways. It's just very well put together and very, very enjoyable. So worth watching. The whole of it is up on All 4 right now, so you can go and get all the episodes right now. That is one that I would definitely recommend. One of the others I watched was Fear Index, which is a really interesting Sky Atlantic drama. Again, they are all up on demand, so you can go and watch those straight away. They're an adaptation of a Robert Harris novel. The series follows a tech genius called Dr. Alex Hoffman, played by Josh Hartnett, who has invented this investment system called Vixel, which is an AI-driven system that exploits fear in the financial markets and obviously operates faster than any human could. So it makes these huge returns for them. They are in this sort of 24 hours where they're trying to get more investments and they're trying to woo these investing people to come in. Just before that happens, the night before, Alex gets attacked in his home, and these series of strange events start to happen. Like a book arrives that he thinks his wife has bought him and she hasn't, and then talks to his partner, and his partner at the firm didn't get it for him, even though it was a book he kind of really wants. So he trying to track down where this book has suddenly come from out of nowhere. It sort of carries on, and he starts to question his sanity about whether he's actually going a little crazy, or whether there is somebody actually out to get him, or whether there's something else going on entirely. So it's a really sort of interesting, weird setup. It's a bit slow, and it's one of those things that it's only 4 episodes long, so it's 4 hours in total. And I really get the feeling that this probably could have been a 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie, and it might have been a better thing in that format rather than trying to do it over 4 hours as a TV drama, because there does seem to be a little bit of filler in there. And I was kind of like, you get to the end of the first episode and you think, well, that could have been a bit tighter than it was. So I did watch all 4 episodes, and there are some interesting sort of twists in it, but you kind of are signpointed where it's probably going fairly early on. So although there are some twists, you kind of see them coming. And the last shot is just incredibly cheesy as well. So I don't know. It's maybe I'm just too used to this sort of drama, but I could sort of see where it was going, and it's difficult. I don't know whether to recommend it or not. I sort of enjoyed watching it, but I also kind of knew the tropes that they were going for and kind of knew where it was going throughout. And when it ended the way it ended, I was like, really? That's what you're going to end it on? And I mean, it was such a sort of like, oh, well, of course, that's where you're going to end it.
Does it finish the story all right, though?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It kind of rounds the story off okay. You could potentially make another season out of it. I don't know whether it necessarily needs it. And I mean, a second season might be slightly more interesting, but I found it very predictable throughout. There wasn't much in there that you couldn't see coming, I don't think, because they make this big thing about the fact that, you know, there's this Vixel system, which is this AI, and it's based around fear, and you kind of know what's going to happen there. And the acting's perfectly fine, you know, the directing's okay. I just think maybe it would work better as a film rather than a 4-part, because it says it's a 4-part limited series, so I don't think they are planning on doing more of it. And yeah, I just found it a little overly predictable throughout. So, you know, I mean, it's there. It's up on Sky Atlantic. It's on now. It's 4 hours. If you like Josh Hartnett and you want to kind of see him in something, it's there if you want to watch it. Just be aware. Do you look at it and like, well, I think this is going to happen. Oh, yes, this has happened. You know, so if you're used to these sort of thriller dramas, I think you're probably going to guess where it's going. So, you know, it's okay. It's just, it's not anything particularly special, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know whether that's a fault of the TV show or a fault of the novel it's based on. I have no idea. But yeah, hard to sort of completely recommend when there are a lot of other better things out there, I think.
Yeah.
The other thing I watched was Pam and Tommy, which I'm about 3, I think, episodes into. That I did really enjoy. This, of course, is based around Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee and the whole scandal regarding the robbery at their house and the tape that was stolen, or the infamous tape that was stolen from their house. I found this really quite interesting because I remember this all happening at the time, and it was sort of mid-90s when the robbery happened. I don't remember exactly the outcome of what went on with that. I don't know whether people got caught from it, because essentially, you know, they had this intimate tape stolen. It got put out online. They always claimed it was stolen. The guy that had it always claimed that it wasn't, and it had come into his possession in some way. So it's sort of following that storyline and giving more background to it. I think it treats the characters in an interesting way. I think Pamela's character is definitely treated very sympathetically. Tommy comes across as a bit of a dick throughout, but, you know, don't know how accurate that is to who he is in real life. But certainly that's the way it's portrayed on there. I think the performances are really good. It's Sebastian Stan as Tommy and Lily James as Pamela. And if you've seen the publicity shots, you know that they've done a brilliant job with just getting them to look like those two people. And I think that's really good. It's kind of more of a dark comedy than it is full out drama, actually. There's quite a lot of fun and humor in that. Overall, I am enjoying it so far. I need to watch the rest of it. It is up on Disney Plus right now, which is weird considering the subject matter, but that's where it is. Of course, it goes out under the Star brand.
Yeah, that's just how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still people that continue to be confused by, like, why is Walking Dead on here? Why is this Pamela Anderson thing on here? So,
yes, very much so. But overall, I am enjoying that so far. It is an interesting true life drama, and I do remember the events, when they first happened in the 90s. So I don't know how accurate it is. I know Pamela apparently has said she will never watch the show, which is understandable because it was a horrifically traumatic period of her life. So why would she want to relive that in a sort of through a kind of twisted TV lens anyway? So, I get that. But certainly I think it is an interesting look at a intriguing and quite bizarre story. But I'm enjoying that so far. I will be watching the rest of it. So that's the stuff we've been looking at this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. We kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups. One cancellation, or rather one show ending this week, Love Victor, they've said will end with its upcoming third season. I know you and Gray love this show. I haven't been watching it, but yes, I know you two love this.
Yeah, fantastic show so far with the first two seasons, especially with the second season. I feel really upped the ante, so to speak. And of course, it was a show I very, very much connected with last year with events in my own personal life as well, but worked out in a great way just with everything, I suppose. So it holds a special place with me as well, this show, just because of how it helped me to basically come out last year.
Yes.
As well, which if you're writing something that causes somebody to feel better about themselves and to do a life-altering kind of thing, then you've done something really good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It also just made a really, really good show anyway, so it was pretty high on my list for like best TV shows and stuff last year. But no, 3 seasons would make sense. I know that me and Gray had a bit of a conversation off the air once we finished recording our Afterlife podcast, and we both kind of agreed that if you get the same creators back, because they've also done the Love, Simon film, obviously, which basically takes place before this, because it does actually connect into Love, Victor as a show. And I really like the way that the show uses Simon in this TV show as well. It's not really a spoiler because I haven't really said what he does, but he is he's present in Love, Victor, and it makes a lot of sense. It's really good, and he himself helps Victor through certain things. So if they end that story and then you end that kind of saga, so to speak, although you can always use those characters in similar ways that you've used Simon in the Love, Victor show. If you switch gears a little bit, maybe you do a transgender story, or you stick with some things that's still LGBTQ, I suppose.
Yeah.
So maybe if you want to do something with a woman, a female character as well, that would be good. Because I fully trust the people that are behind these two things to do something else, because obviously they've done an incredible job so far. And I'd love to see the creators and the people behind this show do something else as well, because I'd really look forward to it if they did. Whether that would be on Hulu or whatever, we don't know, obviously. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap this third season up. It kind of makes sense that you can't really do a show like this for something like 5 or 8 or 10 seasons or something. Obviously, Victor's just going to get older and move into further stages in his life. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's sort of bittersweet, I guess, but you always want to go out with a bang, I suppose, which is exactly what I think they'll do. So.
Yes, you want to go out ideally with a show like that on your own terms as well, and you want to go out wrapping it properly, which it sounds like they're going to do, so that's good. We've got a bunch of renewals as well this week. Reacher got renewed for a second season literally after we were talking about it on the podcast last week. Brilliant show that they did a wonderful job adapting the books. Pretty much universal acclaim from people that have read the novels. I haven't, but from everything I've been reading, a lot of people have said, yes, this is what it really should be. People like the Tom Cruise films, but we've said before, before, Tom Cruise is not Reacher. He's not the right. I
was going to say Tom Cruise looks a bit different to the guy who's doing it now.
Yeah, Alan Richardson is a far better Reacher, and I mean, Alan did a Reddit Ask Me Anything thing and said, he appreciated the movies, because of the fact that he loves the books, and I mean, Alan is a real fan of the books, and the fact that Tom did the films and got the interest out there in the books, which sold more books, which then ultimately led to this TV series being commissioned. So, he has a lot of appreciation for that. But yeah, I think this is a really solid adaptation. Alan is a huge fan of the novels. They get on very, very well. Lee is involved in it. It just works. I found it really fun. I don't know the books, but I still found it a really solid, interesting series. So I'm so glad that they've renewed that. I think it's a solid addition to the Prime lineup. That over on Epix in the US, they have announced a bunch of interesting renewals, one of them being Domina Season 2. Now, I'm sure that was a Sky original over here, and I don't remember them saying they're ordering a second season, so I don't know whether this was one that was a Sky Epix sort of co-production, and maybe Sky have dropped out, or they just haven't announced there's a second season, or I missed the thing where they said they were doing a second season. But Epix released this list of things that they have renewed and new shows that were coming, and Domina was on there for a second season, so that is going to be coming back. Presumably Sky will pick that up. I don't know. But that has got a second season. What I am really excited about is Condor has got a third season, which Condor you can find on the Sky box sets. That was a really interesting thriller. It was about this sort of CIA analyst that got kind of blamed for the fact that there was an attack at the unit he was working at, and he got the blame for it and ended up sort of on the run. And the first two seasons of that were really wonderful. I very much enjoyed it, and it was on, I can't remember which was it, the Audience Network, I think, in the US, and they literally shut the entire network down. So that channel disappeared, and Condor sort of went with it, and then Epix picked the first two seasons up and have been running it, and they've now said that they've now commissioned a third season. So I'm very, very happy that that is going to be returning, because I really enjoyed the first two seasons of that. They've also given a second season to Chapelwaite, which I don't think has aired over here, but it's an adaptation of the Stephen King short story Jerusalem's Lot. So that has got a second season as well. So that will be coming. If you like your horrors, that's probably one to look out for. Also sticking with horror, Creepshow and Slasher have both been renewed by Shudder in the US as well. Slasher has aired a few different things. That's a sort of horror anthology series. That has aired over here. I'm not sure whether Creepshow has, but Slasher certainly has. Those two will be back for new seasons as well.
I remember when there was some news that came out, because season 2 of Slasher came out on Netflix or something like that, and the first season was already on there. That was the season with like Kate McGrath from Supergirl,
right? Yeah.
And then the show got renewed for the second season, and that was on Sci-Fi in the UK. I remember watching it on Pick TV. I remember watching it on Now in the UK, and I was like, okay, it's weird that this thing's over here, but I'll watch it. And then the third season came out, and that was on Netflix, I'm pretty sure. And then I remember, like, very briefly a while ago, probably about a year ago, seeing news that a fourth season was on Shudder.
Yeah.
And then I forgot to kind of check it out, but it's good that it's been renewed for another one. So there's probably a season of Slasher that I've actually missed then.
Yeah, the fourth season went out, I think, exclusively on Shudder, because you can get Shudder in the UK. It is if you go to shudder.com, you can get that. If you lean to your horror, it might be one that's worth looking to subscribe to. But yeah, the first three seasons initially went out on Pick TV, and then I think they've popped up in other places like Netflix, possibly. But yeah, Shudder, I think, exclusively aired the fourth season, so that's probably the one you haven't seen.
Yeah, so this is the fifth season?
So this will be a fifth season, yeah. And obviously it's an anthology, so it'll be different.
Yeah. But all the seasons pretty much were good, at least from what I remember so far.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
In terms of pickups and other news, a couple of events, air dates. Killing Eve has now been confirmed as coming on the 28th of February. That's coming onto iPlayer. That will be the day after it airs in the US on BBC America. So that will be back for its final season.
That's quite soon.
Yeah. Russian Doll, which was that brilliant sort of time loop Natasha Lyon show, which I loved the first season of that. And that will be back in spring. They haven't given an exact date for that yet, but that's coming back to Netflix in spring. Also in spring, but over on Amazon Prime, there's a show called 10%, which they've actually changed, or rather given it a name now, because it's the UK remake of the incredibly popular French series Call My Agent. It's from the people that did W1A, who are doing the UK version. So that gives you the sort of idea of the type of semi sort of real humour that they're going for in it. It's got Jack Davenport as one of the leads in it. It looks like it's going to be very fun and very funny. That's coming in spring onto Amazon Prime, and I'm quite looking forward to that, because it's basically set in a celebrity talent agency. So there is a lot of guest stars coming in that are playing versions of themselves. There's people like Helena Bonham Carter is doing a stint in there, and some other famous faces doing stints in there. Last Kingdom season 5 has a premiere date. That's 9th of March on Netflix. That returns for what is its final season, but there is a film coming after it as well, which is supposed to round everything off. So the final full season, which is season 5, 9th of March on Netflix for The Last Kingdom. The problem with Jon Stewart, which is Jon Stewart's show on Apple TV Plus, is slightly changing its format, because it was a bit sort of ad hoc before, where he kind of put them up. There was like 4 or 5 episodes he put up as and when he kind of finished them, I think. So it was sort of every 2 or 3 weeks. They're now doing it as a weekly format show. That's returning on March 3rd onto Apple TV Plus. Very, very good. It's very much sort of Jon Stewart's kind of thing. It's more in the format of, rather than being the Daily Show of being a bunch of different stories, it is more the format of one particular topic. So that is the problem that they're dealing with that week. So they've done things on like guns or healthcare, or they pick a topic and then it's a sort of deep dive into that particular topic that week. But it's still very much Jon Stewart, and fun, but also got a very serious point to it. And I've really enjoyed the first few episodes of that, so I'm glad they're bringing that back for a more kind of regular slot. The Lazarus Project, which is a very interesting new drama, again also deals with time loops. So there's another kind of time loop drama. So it's a sci-fi thriller coming. It stars Papa Etsu from I May Destroy You, who is really good in the lead role. Not that I'd known that, because not that I've seen any of it, but that's coming in April on Sky Max. It is definitely going to be one to look out for. I think it was called Extinction originally, but they've changed the name of it to The Lazarus Project. That's going to be one to look out for in April. Better Call Saul also has a premiere date that returns on the 19th of April for the start of its final season. They've actually weirdly announced the part 2 as well already. So 19th of April for the first part, which I think is 6 episodes, and then the second part, which is 5 episodes, which starts on July 12th. So there is a bit of a break in between. There's like a month gap or something. Both coming this year. They're not going to split it like they did with Breaking Bad, which they split it over 2 years. So that's good. It's all going to end this year. I mean, weirdly, they announced a couple of like little spin-off things. Like there's an animated show coming as well.
Oh, really? I missed all that.
Yeah, that kind of strange. And I don't know if we're going to get them over here. That's the thing. So I've not really been pushing it, but there is a 6-part animated spin-off called Slipping Jimmy, which follows the young Jimmy McGill and his friends in Chicago, and it's produced by the Rick and Morty animators. So... who knows whether we'll get that or not? I have no idea. But yes, apparently they're producing that as well. So we'll see whether that turns up anywhere. But yes, there is that out there in the world. And the other thing which has got an air date is Obi-Wan Kenobi, which they've announced the 25th of May. That is landing, which I'm very happy about. I'm glad that's coming. There's a lot of people saying, why isn't it coming on May the 4th? Because obviously that's Star Wars Day. I mean, that may be when we get the trailer, possibly. The reason I think they've done the 25th of May is that is the anniversary of A New Hope being released. So it's sort of a full circle thing. So I think that's why they've gone for the 25th of May rather than going for the 4th. And I think they'll use the 4th maybe as a promotional thing. It's possible they may do a sort of surprise drop of the first episode or something. I mean, I don't know. They will release some big Star Wars stuff on Star Wars Day because they always do. But whether that's just the trailer or whether it's like, surprise, here's the first episode, But 25th of May is officially.
There is the Skywalker Saga Lego game out on the 4th. So I know it's not quite as big as this. But,
yes, I know.
Yeah, that's something that they're doing. So I was looking at the PlayStation Store yesterday to see dates of things, and that came up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there will be trailers, and they may drop a trailer for Andor as well, because I think that's been filming. So we'll see what actually lands on the 4th of May. But I mean, there will be stuff about. But 25th of May is when they've said that Obi-Wan is actually going to be airing as a series. I am very much looking forward to that. It looks like it's going to be really good. Sticking with returning sci-fi things, there is a potential Blade Runner series in the works called Blade Runner 2099. It's a live action sequel to the film, which was Blade Runner 2049, wasn't it? Yes, Blade Runner 2049, which was the film. It's Ridley Scott that is producing it, Silka Lusa and Alcorn, who are the people that were involved in the movie. That is coming, obviously, as the title somewhat suggests. This will be set 50 years after the events of the film. Don't really know a huge amount about it other than that, but obviously the film followed on from the original 1982 Blade Runner movie. I think it'd be interesting to have one set in this universe, because I think it is an interesting universe. Silka Lucia is showrunner of Apple TV Plus's upcoming Elizabeth Moss-fronted drama Shining Girls. She's writing and exec producing. Alcorn Entertainment and Scott Free Productions are the people that are behind it, along with Ridley Scott producing. So it's the first time a live-action Blade Runner series has been in development. They're talking about sort of Amazon fast-tracking it and making it a priority. It sounds like they're very keen to make it go forward, which is not unsurprising given the size of the property. But as to who's going to star in it, what it's going to be, who knows? We'll have to see. Did you see that film? I don't know whether I did, but
I haven't seen the two films, no. But I did play, obviously, Cyberpunk 2077, and I did hear a lot of people that had seen this film and enjoyed Cyberpunk, that basically if you enjoyed one, that you potentially enjoy the other, just because all the themes and stuff. So I may have to seek those films out, because I would like to watch both of them before this series comes out, because it sounds like it's going to have involvement with it. But yeah, doing a modern day, obviously, well, not modern day, but modern released TV series on Amazon, who've obviously got plenty of money to do something like this, makes sense and is good. Just have to check out the two films first and see how that goes. But I did enjoy Cyberpunk, so I guess there's those sorts of themes in there. So. Yeah,
and I mean, this is obviously very a kind of cyberpunky sort of thing. So, I mean, you know, it's an interesting world. It's an interesting setup, the sort of idea of the replicants and the people that are tracking them down. I don't know whether this is the time period I would necessarily have set it in. I would possibly have gone back more to the original kind of setup, but there was a brilliant LucasArts style point and click game that came out probably late 80s, early 90s maybe. There was a really superb game which was where you played another Blade Runner who was chasing down replicants. Right. That was a really, really fascinating story, and that was sort of set in the earlier time period. So I don't know, be interesting to see what they do with this. But it's in development at the moment, so it may not go anywhere, but we'll see. They seem very keen on it, obviously. So and it's Amazon, and they generally pretty good at, you know, if they pick up big things, they tend to move forward with them. So we'll see. Over on AMC, there is an Orphan Black sequel in the works, which we have mentioned a while back. They talked about it. It's essentially, it is not a reboot. It's set in the same world as the original show. So there is some potential to bring some characters across if they wanted to do that. But it is a sequel series as opposed to a reboot series. It's now been given a writer. Anna Fishko is the woman that's going to be writing it. Now, make of what you will her background list of credits, because she was a writer and supervising producer on Fear the Walking Dead during the 4th season. She was writer and co-exec producer on The Society, which was that Netflix series, which was actually renewed for a second season. And then when COVID hit, they abandoned it. They decided to shut it down and not make it, which was a bit of a shame. So that isn't coming back, but that got covered by COVID. She's also written on Colony. She wrote on The Last Tycoon, which was an Amazon series, and she wrote on Tyrants as well. So some of those shows have been quite good, but not necessarily lasted very long. So we'll see. I can't remember for what season are we on with The Walking Dead. Was the 4th season the one that you really hated?
No, it was the last 2. 2. We're halfway through the current one, aren't we?
Yes.
I think. Yeah, the current one and the previous one, which is 6 and 7.
Right, okay. So
I don't remember if something was specifically bad about the 4th. Was that where Alicia started painting trees and people got annoyed about that?
Could have been.
That didn't annoy me, but it seemed to annoy other people.
Yes, could have been. Maybe that was the one where they started the sort of pay it forward, leaving packages for people thing, which I quite like that sort of whole premise, but I think they should have stuck with it and they didn't. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. She obviously has a lot of reasonable writing credits to her name, even if some of the shows haven't lasted quite as long as maybe they deserve to. I mean, Colony was a good show, and I know certainly The Society, there was quite a lot of love for that. I didn't see The Last Tycoon. I know Tyrant has quite a lot of love for it. So we'll see. I mean, at least they've now got a writer attached. It means that the Orphan Black sequel is still in the works at AMC. It is still potentially moving forward. So it is there. But we'll see whether it actually manages to make it out of the writer's room.
This could be like a Mike Flanagan situation, though, where you do a first, obviously this is more series, like with the multiple seasons of Orphan Black, and it's sort of this lightning in a bottle thing where you can do more seasons of it, and obviously those are sequel seasons as opposed to anthology things. So the show has the opportunity to get better and better because you're carrying on obviously with the same characters, and you've still got Tatiana Maslany doing multiple roles and really, killing it with her performance. And then you sort of end the show really well. Everybody's really happy with how it wraps up and stuff like that. And then you try to just do it again, but say that it's sort of continuation, but not involving the characters, but still in the same world. It's like, can you sort of do that successfully and not necessarily bring anybody that we loved before?
Yeah.
You also don't really want to see those characters again because you did wrap up their story so well, and you don't want to potentially ruin what you had before.
It is tricky because so much of that show was the genius of Tatiana Maslany and her
and
multiple acting roles.
Yeah, and if you don't have her, what are you offering in the season or series? So.
I mean, if they do move forward with it, it will be a phenomenal role, presumably because whoever gets the lead role will be doing multiple characters again. So it is a phenomenal part for whoever gets it. But, like you say, it could have been lightning in a bottle first time, and whether you can recreate that is very difficult to know. Last story we've got for this week, Futurama returns once again. Hulu has ordered a new season of 20 episodes, or whether it's one season or two, I don't know, but it's 20 episodes they've ordered. The new season is set to premiere in 2023. Obviously, I think everybody knows what Futurama is. It follows Fry, who finds himself accidentally transported 1,000 years into the future, and right now the future is a complex mix of wonderful and horrible, where things are still laughable no matter how wild and crazy it gets. So you've got sort of aliens, robots. It's just wonderfully fun, silly, brilliant show. It's gonna have most of the cast at the moment have signed back on to return. Billy West, who is the main voice of Fry, he also does Zoidberg, Farnsworth, Brannigan, a whole bunch of other people. Katie Siegel is back as Leela. Basically, all the voice cast are back. The one exception at the moment is Joe DiMaggio, who played Bender. And according to Deadline, who broke the news about this coming back, DiMaggio, I mean, we've interviewed him at MCM. I mean, he's wonderful and lovely, and he has been pushing, going around the world promoting the show. He does like a string of Bender voices when you interview him. He's really, really fun. He felt when they spoke to him about it, the proposal was not competitive based on the success and name recognition of the original series. That's what the quote is. So at the moment, he is not returning, although they are saying they're looking to recast because they're supposed to be doing a table read today. So if he hasn't signed by today, there may be somebody else that comes in and reads the lines. I'm kind of thinking that may be a ploy on behalf of 20th century television or 20th century animation. And I rather suspect that he may come round eventually and come back, because if everybody else has come back, it sort of seems ridiculous that he isn't. And maybe they'll offer more money and they'll make him come back, because there's a lot of fans saying you can't do this without John DiMaggio. It would be weird to have somebody else come in and do the voice of Bender. I would like to see him change his mind and come back, or them offer him more money to come back and do it. I don't know. But yeah, at the moment, unless something drops today, he isn't coming back as Bender, which is a shame. But, you know, that's the nature of what it is. We'll see. Everybody else has returned.
For me, with Futurama, I have watched a few episodes. It never really quite works for me. And I don't think it's like a terrible show or whatever, but it just, I recognize why some people like it. It's just not my kind of thing. And I also just think that The Simpsons is better. And I've still got so much Simpsons to watch that if I want to dip into that kind of thing, I can just go on my Disney Plus and watch the next episode of Simpsons, which I think Futurama's on there as well, isn't it? But in terms of this, the Bender voice actor, I obviously have seen plenty of scenes of him, not just through episodes, but internet content and that kind of thing. I think his voice is too. Like his role is one that you'd, out of mainly everybody, I would say you'd need to look at him and think like he really needs to come back to this, because otherwise you've also got the thing of like, if you have a new actor that comes in, he's going to be compared to the other one, it might not be as good, and then that might just not work for the show.
Yeah, it's one thing doing the impression of Bender's.
So we'll see how that goes. But it feels like the one thing that's left dangling that's just disappointing in terms of him maybe not coming back.
It is tricky.
So
I mean, it's one thing that you could get. I mean, it's like Bugs Bunny. There are various people that do the voice for Bugs Bunny, and it is possible that you'll get somebody else that can come and do the voice of Bender. But I think there is a certain extra edge that John DiMaggio kind of brings to that role, and I don't know, it would just be weird not to have him come back, I think.
Also, when you got somebody like that who's been doing an iconic voice for so long, obviously because this thing's been around for a long time, audiences get used to a particular type of voice, and he obviously grows more and more into the role over the years. So if you suddenly like take that away, put somebody else there, it just might not quite work as well.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of longevity thing as well, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And the fact that when it's been off air, he has been one of the people that has been out doing the promotion and, as well as promoting himself. I mean, obviously promoting the show and keeping the show alive. And it seems a little unfair that they won't pay him to come back, which is a shame. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that kind of washes out. It's not the first time that something like this has happened where they've revived a show, said, oh, well, an animated show, they've said, oh, well, they want more money, but we're not going to pay them, so we're going to recast. And then they've worked out a deal afterwards. So it's possibly a tactic rather than that being the final nail, but we'll see.
Yeah. Did you say they're doing a table read today?
That's what it says. Yes, it said they were doing a table read today. So we'll see whether they have a stand-in for that or whether he comes around. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Futurama being kind of through the mill over the years. It was cancelled by Fox after 4 seasons. It was then revived for a bunch of DVD movies, which were then chopped up into episodes that went out on Comedy Central. That then prompted Comedy Central to order new seasons in 2010, where it ran for 3 years before being cancelled again. And now it's been revived by Hulu. So it is one of those shows that just won't die. It's very similar to like Family Guy that got cancelled and then revived and then cancelled and then revived. So yeah, I'm glad it's back. I think it is a fun show. I know there's an awful lot of love for it out there. It'd be interesting to see whether they manage to recapture the magic, but it's on Hulu in the US. It will be on Disney Plus in the UK. They have confirmed that as well. So, but it's not coming until 2023. So you've got to wait until next year before we get those episodes. That's all the news we've got for this week. Just time for some highlights for next week on TV. So, highlights for next week. We have Tracy's returning for a second season on Alibi. That's on the 15th of February at 9 p.m. That was that crime drama set at the Scottish Institute of Forensic Science. I think that then ran on BBC as well. I think they ran the first season after Alibi ran it. But that's coming for premiere back on Alibi for its second season. That's on the 15th of February at 9 p.m. Young Wallander Killer's Shadow, the second season of Young Wallander. That's coming to Netflix on the 17th of February. The Cuphead Show, which we've been talking about for ages, but obviously animation takes a while. 18th of February 2022 for that. That's an animated series based on probably one of the most frustrating video games I've ever played, called Cuphead. But that's the Cuphead Show. That's 18th of February on Netflix. One of Us is Lying, which is a new sort of teen drama. Detention brings together 5 disparate high schoolers, but a killing and secrets keep them together as a cat and mouse murder mystery unfolds. That is One of Us is Lying. It's coming to Netflix on the 18th of February. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is back for its fourth season on the 18th of February. I love that series. I'm so happy to see it returning finally. But that's on Prime Video. That's the 18th of February for season 4 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Space Force returns for its second season. That's on Netflix on the 18th of February. Kind of mixed first series. It's very, very silly, but still quite fun. So that's back on the 18th. Severance, which is a new Apple TV workplace thriller from exec produced by Ben Stiller, starring Adam Scott. That's coming on the 18th of February to Apple TV Plus. The Walking Dead returns on the 21st of February. That's on Star on Disney Plus. That's for season 11B. So 1/3 of a season to go after this. So we're nearly at the end. We've got another bit to come towards the end of this year. But yeah, that will be The Walking Dead penultimate season, in quotes, or part season, in quotes. 21st of February and Star on Disney Plus for that. And Last Week Tonight is back with John Oliver. That's for season 9. That's on Sky Comedy. 21st of February at 9 p.m. And that's a wonderful show. So I look forward to that coming back. And that is everything for this week. If people want to find more of you, where can they find you?
You can find me over on entertainmenttalk.org. You can also search for Entertainment Talk on your podcast platform of choice. Get the content that way if you want to as well. Plenty of things coming up. Speaking of myself and David and Gray, myself and David, of course, will be covering Walking Dead next week when that starts for its second, like David said, the second part of the 3-part season thing. So we'll probably be doing that on the Wednesday, which would be the 23rd. Me and David reviewed, when was it, on Saturday? Sunday? It's on Sunday,
something
wasn't
like
it?
that, yes.
We reviewed the Book of Boba Fett thing, so you can have a look at that. And then Gray joined me as well as David on, I think, Thursday. We've seen a lot of each other this week, haven't we?
We have, yes.
Yeah, for the third and final season of Afterlife, so I did that. Got a couple of film reviews coming up as well this week, because I'm on half term from cleaning at the school, which is good. Gives me a bit more time to do things. So check out that kind of stuff. So TV, video games, films, basically a Man United podcast. So if you want my thoughts on the 3 in a row draws that we've had, the 1-1 draws from Man United and getting knocked out the FA Cup and all that kind of stuff, there's the United cast as well if you're interested in that. So again, that's entertainmenttalk.org for all those things. You can also find me on Twitch, eTalkUK over on Twitch. And if you missed those or you want the other video game clips and stuff that I've got, there's a YouTube channel as well called Entertainment Talk Plays. For those that love PlayStation stuff, there's a video I did. It's for the Artifact Showcase Room in Astro's Playroom, which is the free game that you get with the PS5, and I completed that and then showed off all the room and everything, shows all the old consoles and controllers and stuff. So that was good for like PlayStation memories, that sort of thing. That's all of my stuff that you can go and check out.
Excellent. So go and check Matt out over on entertainmenttalk.org. You can go and find him over there. For other people involved in the show, you can go and find Bex at twitch.tv/TristaBytes. That's BYTES, for lots of daily streaming on Twitch over there. And if you're into retro stuff, retro games, just general sort of chatting and silliness, well worth going to check Bex out over on twitch.tv/TristaBytes. For Daryl, you can go and find him over on HollywoodNorthNews.net for all those TV series you love that are shot in Canada. For us, of course, you can go to the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post, find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, on YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, and on Instagram at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.